Well, hello dear viewers and welcome to Level Up Reviews. This is Wolf and today I review Wizardry 5, Heart of Maelstrom. Let's jam! Last time we left Sirtec in 1987 when they released Wizardry 4, Return of Verdna, one of the hardest RPGs ever made. It was not exactly the greatest financial success, so a lot was riding on Wizardry 5, which, surprisingly enough, was already finished and ready to be released. In fact, the development of this game was done in 1986. But since Wizardry 4 was already advertised, it was put on the back burner, while Andrew Greenberg and Robert Woodhead were developing Return of Verdna. A new star was rising in Sirtec. David W. Bradley was born in 1955, and pretty much from his birth, he was obsessed with games. By the age of 5, he was playing such games as chess and bridge. Unlike a lot of other kids, David Bradley never outgrew his love for games. Just like Richard Garriott, he even dabbled in developing games on a teletype. And even though he went to university to study music, he managed to get kicked out of computer room on many occasions because he was developing games on university computers. This was heavily frowned upon during those times. Although nothing could stop David Bradley, he was in love with programming. As Bradley remarked himself, programming language seemed like his native language, and English was something taught to him just to confuse him. Even though David did not follow his chosen profession of a musician, he still lived as a struggling artist, dedicating most of his time on developing a game called Parsian Kings. Luckily for him, while visiting a computer store, he received an offer. Store owner knew many people who needed applications for their businesses, and a good programmer would come in handy. So, David started working for the store owner. As David said it himself, he made programs and store owner made money. This did allow Bradley to work on the better computers. By day, he would develop applications for banking, financing, and a lot of other businesses, but at night, he would develop games. Finally, after finishing Parsian Kings, he contacted a publisher called Avalon Hill. They happily agreed and released the game for him, which was successful enough and allowed David Bradley to get his foot in the industry. Of course, this was not the only game he was working on. He was also working on an RPG pretty much since the day Wizardry 1 came out. It was called Dragon's Breath. He contacted the publisher to release this game as well, but Avalon Hill did not think they could actually compete with Sirtec, and they recommended David to contact Sirtec about the game. David Bradley followed their advice. Sirtec did like the game, but wanted to change the game into Wizardry, for the name recognition of course. So Bradley moved from Atlanta to New York to turn the game into Wizardry, and together with Robert Woodhead and Andrew Greenberg, started to recode the game. They used UCSD Pascal to accomplish this task. And another important thing happens here. David Bradley meets Brenda Romero. She was pretty much assigned to him to do menial tasks, but Bradley took her under his wing and taught her many things. She did not really work together with Andrew Greenberg, and even though Robert Woodhead taught her some stuff, none of them really took the time to teach her as much as David Bradley did. And of course, as I said, the game was not released for 2 years after its development was finished. By this time, both Andrew Greenberg and Robert Woodhead had left the company. Yes, sadly, we have to say goodbye to two of the founding fathers of Wizardry. Andrew Greenberg went to pursue a career as an attorney, and Robert Woodhead went into business together with Ro Adams. They founded AnimeGo, distributor of anime and other Japanese media. Finally, after 2 years of waiting, Wizardry 5, Heart of Maelstrom was released. It was received well by the critics, but everybody pointed out that this was very similar to first three games. And well, general public had the similar opinion. The game promised grand improvements, but you have to realize that this game was released in the same year that saw release of Final Fantasy II and Ultima 5. Comparatively, Wizardry 5 is, well, outdated. And to be honest with you, there is not that much improvement. I mean, sure, thieves and ninjas now can hide and lockpick doors. There are NPCs in the dungeons. You can summon the monsters or charm the monsters and swim. So it does have some improvements, but battle system pretty much feels the same way as it felt in the first three games. There is simply not enough innovation in this game for it to stand out. Do not get me wrong, the game is still a lot of fun, but in the same way as the first three games are. The story of the game is also very similar to the first three games. After the mysterious orb was recovered, everything was going well, and all of a sudden, people started to get sick. Natural disasters started appearing again and strike City of Lil Gammon. A magical vortex appeared beneath the Temple of Brotherhood. Council wanted to destroy the vortex, but they couldn't. So they contacted Brotherhood for help. They said that behind the disaster was a former brother, a woman named Sorn. She pretty much wants to plunge universe into chaos. She also captured the being called Gatekeeper, a demigod who will appear to help heroes against Sorn, or at least this is what Council of Lil Gammon sings. So of course the Council set out to find the heroes. They can be old heroes or the brand new ones. Dungeons are okay, I guess, but before entering, you have to enter the copy protection code, which can get a little bit annoying. Just look at this chart. As I said it before, game is very similar to first three games. I think best part of the game are NPCs. You can talk to them, fight them, or trade with them, even give them items. This is actually necessary to progress in the game. One NPC that really stands out for me is Duck of Sparks. I do not know why, he's just a weird character. Speaking of ducks, you also get an item, Rubber Duck. Equipping this item allows you to dive into the pools and come out unharmed. In the pools, you can restore your health, magic points, gain items, and attributes. It's just a cool mechanic. I like the idea of being able to swim. The main goal of this game is of course to close the vortex, but you need to get past through the 4 card lords. For this, you will need to acquire 4 cards. You will find Queen of Hearts at the Dark Well. Defeating the Ice King gives you King of Diamonds, and at level 4 you will find Jack of Spades. You will also need to find Orb and 4 elemental staffs. Finally, you can give cards to each of the card lords. Well, you can also fight them, but this will send you to level 777. I suppose you can go there if you're curious. You will also find some information there. After passing the card lords, you will need to use Orb on 4 gates. Each leads to a triaxle gate. Each gate is defended by a copy of your party. After closing 3 gates, you get Ace of Clubs, which will allow you to close 4th gate. Closing gates will require you to use correct stuff on each of them, selecting the correct attributes and answering a riddle. After all 4 gates are closed, you face Sorn, who is protected by the shield. But do not worry about this, you can summon the Gatekeeper, who will dispel it for you. Honestly, battle with Sorn is not that hard. I had far more trouble fighting the copies of my party. Defeating her will grant you Heart of Abriel. Then you can return to castle and end the game. All in all, Wizardry 5 is a very fun game. Addition of David Bradley was quite frankly necessary. With all the respect to Robert Woodhead and Andrew Greenberg, it did seem like they were losing passion for Wizardry and wanted to move on to a different projects. Quite frankly, who can blame them? They have been working on Wizardry games for almost 10 years. Wizardry games, for the longest time, had no innovation, which Surtek and David Bradley fixed. But, unfortunately, I have to be brutally honest here. Wizardry 5 does not deliver on its promise. It does not give you significant improvements. I mean, sure, there are some improvements, but let's face it, the improvements were not exactly cosmic. And shout out to my brand new subscribers, Laoshinyi7752, Daniele Andrea Bilanzuoli, Sharash Jack, Ridho RPG, Narislian's Gamespace, Fesfindi, and all the rest of you whose names unfortunately I do not see. Welcome to my channel. If you like my video, please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to leave a comment. Thank you very much.